What is going on, everybody? I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome back to another video to my channel. So today I want to talk about some serious issues going around in the world, and it's been pretty obvious that everyone is talking about it. The politicians, governments, all kinds of corporations, people that you may know, and things like that. And that topic is the environment. And I'm not going to get into the topic of global warming or climate change, because for me personally, I have always been an advocate for the environment since I was a little kid. I was taught to take care of the environment, pick up your trash, and all kinds of things like that. Now, I'm on the fence about climate change because I hear many different types of, hypotheses and different scientists talking about it all over the world, theorizing as well. We don't really know how the Earth was many years ago before humans began the industrial age and things like that. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying that it's completely false and untrue. Okay, it is possible, and I was a believer 100% into it. But I think we need to really rethink how we want the future of this planet to look. Now, today's topic, what I want to specifically talk about is trash, but plastic waste, more specifically, and how this planet is completely and utterly drowning in plastic. It's unbelievable, and I'm guilty of it. I'll be the first one to say I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it in some way or another. And I don't want to try and chastise people who have things that are made of plastic and whatnot, okay? I totally don't want to do that. Now, the reality is we do need some things that are made of plastic, like hard plastics, that make and mold things that we need, okay, on a day-to-day basis. I'm talking specifically about disposable type plastic, like cutlery and things like that. It's so terrible that we still use that, especially in my adopted country here in Brazil. It is so terrible. It drives me crazy how much plastic is thrown away here, disposables. The worst of the culprits is the styrofoam, the containers of styrofoam that you would get, styrofoam cups, but mainly those containers where you would take away food, okay, like take home food from the restaurant and things like that. That type of plastic is not recyclable, and I think it takes like a few hundred years to decompose, and even then it's still, once it becomes little bits and things like that, it gets into the environment and ends up being an absolute terrible, does terrible things to the wildlife and the environment that whatever animals live in. It's just, it's so hard to talk about because it is basically like talking about the elephant in the room. We all know this is happening, and there aren't that many people coming up with solutions. I've read a few solutions where it's like plastic substitutes made of like natural composites or materials. I don't know how far that away is from being the norm in the world, but it seems to me it's a long way off, only because of corporate greed and the adaptation that people are not willing to instill in their lives. People don't really think about it. I mean, I was at the beach the other day, for example, and I saw a bunch of kids, probably from one of the poorer communities here in Rio de Janeiro. And I think it starts with education first. Teaching our kids that we can't be throwing this shit leaving it on the beach and throwing it into the ocean, things like that. That is the easiest step that we can take to start the process of trying to clean up our planet, or whichever environment that we live in specifically. Every once in a while here in Brazil, they have these things called hangover, which is obviously translated from Portuguese, and it's when the ocean basically has a high tide, and then the tide subsides. And I don't know how it's exactly formed, but it basically spits back all the waste and garbage that had been put in on a few days prior. And all you see is on the beach, and I'll show a photo right here if you want to take a look. And all you see is like plastic and garbage and sandals and anything that people have thrown away or lost on the beach or on the seashore. And it all comes back up, and it's basically like the ocean spits it back up and it's like, hey, we don't want this. Not all of it obviously leaves the ocean, because our oceans are being completely obliterated by plastic. It's just ridiculous. I was reading a study the other day that so many little fish are eating the microplastics that are going into the ocean. Now, I'm not trying to be a negative guy today, because my channel is trying to be positivity through and through. But today, I felt that I had to talk about this and get it off my chest, because it's just something that I'm not seeing anything being done about, really, especially not here where I live. Now, I want to just show you guys a few things before I talk more about the plastic waste and things we can do about it as well, and other problems that come from it. But I wanted to show you guys some things that are just so ridiculous and unneeded that it just drives me crazy. So this here is a disposable, a travel size shampoo. Now, look, I haven't used it, and I think it's like 6 months old, and the plastic is already deteriorating, like in pieces here. So, I mean, look how wasteful and stupid humanity is, that we have to use these kind of travel size shampoos. I got that from a hotel that I was staying at last year, I believe. This is another example of stupid plastic that, just is not recyclable. And I understand why we use it, but it's really, there could be substitutes on it. And I'm not going to show plastic bags just yet, because we all know it's like this bag, which is when something is sent to somebody and there's a piece of clothing in it. It says it's recyclable. Now, please recycle this bag. From what I've read online and seeing different studies, this is really not recyclable. And if it is, it's going to be recycled once and then that's it. So it's these types of things that, and most people will throw this away. They ain't going to recycle it, especially not here where I live. Okay? Now, like I said, we are drowning in plastic, and I don't mean to sound like repetitive and everything, but I'm sure you guys know this as well. Now, this is a travel kit, which I think I've used once. And really, I mean, unfortunately, travel, like planes and things like that, don't allow glass. But damn, if you're just traveling by bus and things, you could just use a glass set, or I don't know, there's just got to be another way. It boggles my mind how much crap there's going to be left behind in this planet. All kinds of little bags and things like that. Yeah, sure, you can use these for, throwing away trash. And I mean, that's what I do. There's nothing really else, no other way to dispose of trash. I know some countries have banned the plastic bag and, whatever, and trying to use those recyclable bags, which I do have a few when I go purchase groceries. Now you have the Ziploc bags, which are really terrible. You can use them probably after a few times, and then they're really hard to clean, okay? They're very useful for just storing things when you're traveling, but when you've used food in them, unfortunately you get only a few uses out of it. I mean, I don't know what to say, guys. I just had to talk about this. These are a set of headphones that I have, okay? Now, not saying we shouldn't make them or use them. They're totally useful. But look at this. I've had these maybe a year, and I don't use them too much. But look at this. I don't know if you guys can see that. The plastic casing or whatever for the protect for your ears that your ears lay on is all basically is disintegrating. And look, it even like left a stain on my hand. I don't know if you can see that. And these are microplastics, believe it or not, guys. This is shit that's going into the water system. You know, if it doesn't go into the water system right away, it goes on the street first, and you damn well know that the rain is gonna flush it out into the ocean or your lake or whatever. We have to find another way to, you know, reproduce this type of a material without it being plastic or some type of material that is chemical or toxic, getting into when it gets into the atmosphere or into the environment. That's another thing I was going to mention. I read a study, and I'll try and post the link down below. I think I should have saved the link, but I'll try and find it and I'll try and post it. But it was saying that from all of the debris and disintegration of plastics or rubber tires and all kinds of things like that, it's getting into the air, and we're basically breathing in plastic particles. No surprise to me, you know, especially in highly industrial big cities, things like that, or especially when it's breaking down. It's in the dumps that we drop all of our, you know, garbage and things once it gets taken away. So over the years, it's being disintegrated and going into the air and coming into where the airways are, and basically we're breathing in this shit. You know, it's really, really sad that, you know, plastic is basically, it's a very useful material. I will admit. I mean, it's very versatile. I mean, it's cheap, obviously, to make. I don't know about now because petroleum is very very expensive these days, and that's where a lot of the plastic's made. And most of this shit comes from China. I mean, here's another example. And I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't use it and we shouldn't. But here's one example. So this is from my GoPro. It's obviously broken. I tried to repair it, but it really, once the plastic breaks, it's never going to be the same again. What do I do with this? You know, if I can't repair it and whatnot, it's going to the trash. This is the sad thing. We need to find a way where the material is the same, you know, the durability is the same, the usefulness is the same, but without all the negative impacts that it will have on our environment. I mean, you know, look at the ocean, like I mentioned earlier. The marine life is just choking on plastic. You see sea turtles with things in their mouth, like in this picture right here. Like, come on, guys. I mean, humanity has got to find a better way to deal with plastic and the need for plastic. I totally get it. I have so many things that are made of plastic. I mean, the camera I'm using, the shell of this is plastic. But the other thing is, you know, I'll talk about possible solutions. One of them is we have to dispose of our plastics much smarter. Now, what I was saying earlier about how, you know, climate change is apparently, you know, causing all kinds of problems. This is what politicians tell us, blah, blah, blah. My personal opinion is that this plastic issue is the immediate problem that we can rectify so quickly, and it's within our hands. You know, we don't need to wait for somebody to do it. We don't need to, you know, there's just so many ideas that we can do to cut down the plastics by trying to invest in other ways to create this type of material that will be useful for, you know, day-to-day activities or things we need. You know, it's never going to be 100% gone. I totally get that, but we really need to reduce the amount. Think about when plastics came into being. I think I'll ballpark it and I'll say like 40 to 50 years ago, probably, when it really, maybe even more than that, when it sort of took off and just became, you know, really popular, and it could be so versatile in making things. Think about how much plastic waste is like everywhere, and in landfills and in people's homes that they haven't disposed of. It's just mind-boggling to think about how much of this, if it gets out into the world, could damage our natural habitat in many, many different countries and continents. The other solutions that I've seen as when it retaining to the ocean, is that they've had so many different projects where they're actually cleaning out. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the massive circle, the gyrosphere of garbage that's in the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean as well. They call it the Great Giant Garbage Patch or something like that. Unbelievable. And because it's all leaving different countries and gets thrown overboard, and over many years, over the course of so many years, so many decades, and it's all just ended up there. It's really sad. I just think that this is an issue that we could really easily tackle if we all got together and came up with solutions. And the biggest thing for me is to prevent it from getting into the atmosphere, getting into the environment, in our waterways, on our land that we grow our crops. We have to prevent this material from not ever getting in there, because it's gonna just we're gonna end up killing ourselves and choking on plastic. We already pretty much are. There's so much plastics. I think there's like trillions and trillions of tons of plastic that is thrown away every year, and that's including all over the world. I let me know what you guys think. Some possible solutions. Don't forget to hit the like on this video if you got some information. Let's be positive about it, because let's face it, we're all in this together, and I hate to use that slogan again, but in this case we really are. We have to try and tackle the problem. Another possible way is to cut back on consumption. Try not to buy so many things in grocery stores, for example, that have the plastic casing, the saran wrap. Saran wrap's another one. It's like a one-time use plastic and tossed away, and man, I didn't want to think about how much plastic's out there, but this is really something that I've always thought about. I think it's much more important that we tackle this rather than climate change, because climate change, whether it's being done by man or not, if it's being done by a man, it's going to really hurt a lot of businesses and take a lot more than what it would take to tackle the plastic problem. I really do believe that. Another real serious issue that we have to tackle is also the sewage problem. As you've seen around the world, I won't get into it in depth, but that'll be another video I'll talk about, where we're basically putting sewage, like, I don't know about where you live, but in this city where I live, the sewage would get shot out basically by a giant tube into the ocean. Now, the repercussions of that are just mind-boggling. So I try not to think about that. That'll be another video. I will have more positive videos than negatives, just so you guys know. So plastic is one of the issues we really need to talk about and realize that it is causing a lot of serious problems in this world. I'm just hoping that humanity will find a way to deal with all the problems, as we're smart enough. Humanity can do it. We just all have to want to do it, okay? And realize the problem, find solutions to tackle it. There are positive things coming out of better technologies that we can make this type of material. Like I've mentioned, a seaweed-based type one that I read about. Some that are made from like not a silicone. Oh God, I can't even remember the material. It is a plant-based or something like that. If you guys know what it is, throw it down in the comments. I knew it when I was doing the video, when I started doing the video, but it's like a composite from a natural source, like a plant or a fiber of some sort. But these are some positive stories that we can take from dealing with this problem. It is a serious one, and I know we can beat it. I know we can get past it. So until the next video, guys, I really appreciate that you stayed till the end. If you did, leave a comment below what you think about the issue and what other possible ways we can tackle it and come out much better on the other side without destroying our beautiful planet that we only have one of. So I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks again for watching. if it's your first time, consider subscribing, and so you can listen to me ramble on about all kinds of different topics that comes into my head at a random time. So thanks again, guys, and take care.